I have Anna Pancaldi here. We're going to talk to her about the amazing things she's achieved, and we're going to try and find out exactly how so we can copy her. That's what a lot of this is today, is to try and get lots of practical tips for me to take home. So hi Anna, you're a full-time singer-songwriter, if I'm correct, and you have a really impressive way of building and nurturing your fan base online. You have over 22,000 listeners on Spotify. I presume that's monthly ones. I think I've got these stats from Roxanne. And you managed to get your singles in the top 10 singer-songwriter iTunes charts. So well done, first of all, because that's difficult.
Thank you.
Well done.
Thank you.
My first question is, can you let us in on any secrets? How did you make that happen?
Lots and lots of hard work, yeah.
No, we don't want that. No.
With the charting and the kind of Spotify stuff, I first moved to London in like 2012, and at the very beginning it was just, I didn't know anybody, and it was all about getting out to open mic nights and kind of, trying to build my kind of, I was going to say library, it's a Diplodex, wasn't it, of contacts. But really it just took years of playing shows and connecting with people and building the fan base to get that charting. And that's being very, very vague, but really it's just hard work. It's like I said, when I came here, I didn't know anybody, and it was all about building up a fan base. But before that, having the right songs that I was wanting people to hear. And I think, with an artist, that is the most important thing, is having the songs before you're worrying about building anything else. And it's really hard to not get caught up sometimes in wanting to jump ahead with everything else because you're so excited about having this career. But really spending the time writing as many tracks as you possibly can to kind of, have the music to then go and take that forward. And, that's the thing above everything that speaks the most, regardless of, everyone on your team. So I kind of spent a lot of time on the music and then gigged loads and loads and loads, and that kind of combined with social media and, I don't know. It was just a lot of work. Like I didn't hang out, I didn't see my friends very much or have any money because I was kind of pouring it all into my music. Does that helpful?
I like answers like this because they're much more truthful. And one of my favourite phrases at the moment is that it takes a very long time to become an overnight success.
Yes, it does take a very long time.
So
it doesn't happen quickly. But I think it's important that it doesn't too. I think, there needs to be a journey. There needs to be a fight, and that's really important too. And I think also with the digital age and there maybe being so many more artists having a crack at, being in a band or being an artist, it really clearly separates people that are kind of willing to work hard and want the career and those that don't, because it just isn't easy. And you have to be patient as well as incredibly driven and knowing what you want and who you are as an artist, and simple things like knowing what your sound is as an artist. That was something I spent a lot of time kind of being quite confused about. And, and then obviously when I had decided on that, that was imperative, but it took me a long time to get there. It's kind of common sense, but common sense I didn't have at the time.
But once you know, you know. And I think that's the thing, if you take your time and work hard and earn it, then when something exciting and random happens and you're ready, so if someone goes, like there's this band from Bristol called Idols who are having an amazing moment, and I hope it continues, and they just supported the Foo Fighters. How incredible is that? They're just a punk band from Bristol. But they were ready. They were brilliant live. They are brilliant live. They had a great album. They were ready for that amazing little thing to happen, and then they weren't going to mess it up because they were ready. So do you think being ready? Do you feel ready?
Yeah, I do. Yeah, 5 years later, I feel ready. I think I felt that I was ready at the beginning, but I wasn't. And and the really important thing with also going out to those open mic nights, as well as kind of building a fan base and everything, was to just get confident on stage. I used to have stage fright, so I used to cry. That's quite awkward for people watching me perform. What do we do? She's crying.
Cat Power famously did that too.
Pardon?
Cat Power famously did that. So in Fine Company there, with crying on stage.
Yeah, she's ledge. Anyway, so kind of it took a long time to get over that, and then I was able to perform in front of people, but then I needed to learn how to kind of engage and chat with an audience, which I think is such an important part of being, a live artist and going out on the road, and something that fans and audience members really appreciate. But being ready is so important. And I've chatted with lots of people in the last couple of years, sort of talking about radio and lots of artists really being desperate to get onto radio, which is a really tricky thing. And again, maybe slightly contentiously, I think it's only really necessary, you know, much further down the line in an artist's career. Like, it's nice to be able to say that you've been in playlists and all of that, but building a live fan base is much more important. And that kind of, those playlistings and things like that, when you kind of are so much further down the line and there's huge tours to really support that kind of that sort of platform. And although it's nice to have a spot play, and you know, I haven't been playlisted on anything, but I've had a few spot plays on Six Music and Radio 2. They sound nice and they look nice on your little press pack of things that you've done. But yeah, being ready is so important. So like having amazing music, then being able to perform brilliantly live and connect with an audience, and then obviously social media comes with that. And but yeah, all those things take a huge amount of time to build.
Well, I have more questions because it's really interesting what you say about radio. I think we agree on a lot of things without ever having met till today. But the spot play things and a lot of those things that seem like a traditionally successful thing, normally, in my opinion, they just legitimize you to people who have already heard of you. So your friends from school who are your friends on Facebook will go, oh, I might listen now because the BBC liked it. And you're like, I've been doing this for years. Drives me nuts. But we wanted to move on to something a little bit more tangible. So since you're basically winning Spotify at the moment, we wanted to talk about, did you make a conscious decision to focus on a digital strategy? And if so, how did you go about doing that? Because these things don't just happen. You know, you worked at that. So do you have any tips that you're willing to share with us, little secrets about how you can proactively get that happening for yourself, aside from these magical moments where something, you know, someone famous mentions you online or whatever, and then you get a bump of people? Like, what can you do?
No one's done that, although I was very excited the other day when Clarissa from, oh my God, Sabrina the Teenage Witch followed me on Twitter.
What?
That was very exciting.
This woman has made it. Regards.
But no, for me, so with Spotify, truthfully, so I kind of, with my last release, got put into quite a few playlists, New Music Friday and a bunch of other ones, which I was so thrilled and excited about, because my first two releases, I sort of, nothing was playlisted, and that was fine. I wasn't really expecting that, and I was still sort of wrapping my head around all of that. And then with this release, actually, it was just, I think it was an amalgamation of having an amazing PR company that I've been working with that had great connections with Spotify. And so some of it came through them. And then I'm really lucky to be working with AWOL and Cobalt. And this year I got my first little bit of an advance from them. And so some of the playlisting also came, you know, from them. And and I think it's really important to speak truthfully about, you know, how, because I know lots of people wanting to get playlisted and haven't and do get playlisted and maybe don't talk truthfully about how they're getting those playlists. But I think as a community, people need to speak honestly, and you know, I've really enjoyed this morning so far because people are speaking really honestly, and sometimes that can be slightly, you know, contentious, and that's okay. But really, you know, people are trying their hardest at having a career, and if people aren't being honest about how they're getting, you know, to the next step, it's really just not helpful for anybody. But that's how I got my playlisting.
Right.
And
well, there's no shame in saying a PR company helped, the label stuff helped. It doesn't mean you're not talented. It means that you have people who know what they're doing around you, which is what we all want. But then likewise, I think people going, oh, I don't know. Oh, it just happened. Nothing just happened. So it's good. It's really good to know that. And so obviously we're talking about management, obviously in the session before. When looking for people to work with, we do have to consider what the landscape is right now. And I currently earn about 8 pence a quarter from Spotify, which I'd like to go up, obviously, because that's not enough, is it? So, you know, for me, it's thinking about that. If I'm going to start working with different people on my team and stuff, then, or have a team at all, then I do need people who are going to know about that stuff, because you can't ignore it.
Yeah.
As a consumer, I love Spotify. As a musician, it's not working for me quite yet. So
yeah. Really, I think also, you know, everyone will be at such different levels in their career, but I think also what helped with the Spotify thing was also I've sort of had a very clear vision in my mind of where I've kind of been wanting my career to go, and building those steps yearly and having a business plan. And really, I think Spotify also like to get behind artists that they see are really, you know, and I know that some people will be doing all these things and it won't be happening, so I'm not saying that that's the only reason, but they like to see that an artist, they've kind of got a clear journey of where things have been, and they like to see what you've done and how hard you're working, and that it's connecting with fans and then seeing where it's going, and so that they're supporting things that are really, that are really moving somewhere. I hope does that make sense?
Well, isn't it surely like any kind of social network, if you're engaging the community and you're using their tools, I think that's what are you talking about, making your own playlists and stuff like that on Spotify? Making
playlists, yeah, but also just as being an artist or in a band, in general, having a clear trajectory of where you're going and being able to show, the things that you've done and you've achieved over the years. So it's not just, making music and being an artist isn't the be and end all for everybody, and for some of us it is. And so, I think they like to see that there's a story, just like with well, that's what everyone's looking for, aren't they? People respond to people. There is a website called Spotify for Artists, which I haven't really looked at yet. That's why I earn 8 pence a quarter. But you could look at it and tell me what's on there. But that's have you ever looked at that and seen what things you can do, or do you think your team have it covered for you? No, I've got obviously all my logins and everything, and when I got verified, I think you need like 250 followers on Spotify to kind of get all those stats, and it's really useful and just really great to be able to see where in the world people are listening to you two, and just sort of make little extra spots off on your tour if you can see that there's a spike in certain areas. So yeah, no, definitely. So I have management, but prior to having that, I did a huge amount myself, and I think I really felt very, very clear in my mind about that I wanted to understand how everything works in this business before I sort of invited people onto the team, and then I'm still very much a part of that. It's not, I think you can still have people on your team, be involved with everything, but also have that knowledge. It's not just handing over.
Well, it's like someone was saying on the panel before, you're the CEO, so why would the CEO of a company go, you've got it, guys, I'm just going to go over here and have a cocktail? Like you're going to keep an eye on what's happening, aren't you?
Yeah, absolutely.
And just what I do know about Spotify is that you have to make sure that your gigs are linked up, because I do find that I tour and then people go, oh, I heard you on Spotify and so I've come to the gig. So it does work. It just works in ways you don't necessarily see unless they tell you.
Upload it onto Songkick and it'll all link up.
Songkick's my favourite thing. Can I ask you, what are your biggest challenges as an independent artist, and what does 2018 hold for you?
I think the biggest challenges so far have been just finding a balance. So sort of, I wouldn't say that now having management that there's loads of the workload taken off. The team has definitely gotten bigger, which has relieved some pressure. But I think it's something that we all struggle with is to find that balance. So I kind of at the end of last year got completely exhausted, and then I went off to the States for a little while and just sort of had to really have a massive rethink about how I was going to just to really separate those things out, which it's easy to say that we need to do those things and to try and schedule them in, but I still find that very, very, very difficult. And also because as artists and just anyone involved in the industry, put a lot of pressure on yourself from what you expect to gain from your career, where you see yourself going. And I've really had to learn, with being very, very driven and knowing what I want, to also learn to be patient within that, which kind of sounds like such a contradictory thing, and maybe sounds really obvious, but I really had to learn that, because I really kind of, I wasn't having a nervous breakdown, but I definitely sort of had a bit of, just, I can't find the right word. I was going to say had a blowout, but it's definitely not the right phrase.
It's so easy to hold on very tightly.
Blown out. I was blown out. Is that right? Does anyone know the saying?
Burned out.
Burned out. There we go. I wasn't blowed out. That's not even English. It sounds horrible. Anyway, burnt out from not being able to balance those things.
Yeah. Well, it's easy to hold on very tightly to things, isn't it? Because if we love, we're so driven with our careers and stuff, and you're in charge of so much stuff and in control of so much stuff, but then we're not in control of what happens to it afterwards. And that I find that hard sometimes, because I'm just like, why can't it just work out like the way I want? And then my new mantra is just let it go. And then make some more stuff, so you can control the things you can control. Yeah, that's why I try and remind myself.
Yeah,
that's helpful.
But yeah,
and so what plans do you have for next year?
Yes, next year. Well, today I'm going to buy some new shoes because I left mine at home, so I've turned up in slippers. But for next year, on a musical note, I know I've been feeling very self-conscious about them. Now I've drawn all of your attention to these shoes.
Fine, aren't they?
Also borrowing Laura's guitar. I lost my hat. I'm just having, it's a midlife crisis at 28. It's quite unbelievable. But no, next year...
Thankfully, other hats exist.
Yeah, exactly. We've got enough hats. Next year, so I'm writing at the moment. I had my last release come out in May, and it's kind of been manically busy. So I'll be back to the States. So my management space out of LA, and so I've been spending a lot more time there. And touring Europe and the UK, and it kind of goes round in a circle. And people ask you like, sorry, not that it's, of course you have to ask, but like when you do interviews and like, well, we just make more music and we release it and we go on tour. We have a dandy time.
And where can people hear your music, Anna Pancaldi?
On the internet. Facebook, Spotify, YouTube, everywhere.
And it's under your name, right?
Pardon? Yes, it's Anna Pancaldi, yeah. But if you can not remember that, Anna Pan, and the rest will pop up. It is quite complicated. Someone introduced me the other day as, what was it, Cal Diddy or something. I was like, oh my goodness me.
Oh, wow.
It's not even a P.
Well, on that note, would you like to play my guitar and play a song to people?
Thank you for lending me your
You're
guitar.
welcome. It's very nice.
Lovely.
Ooh, oh, oh. Home sweet home, and many there have been. So there amidst those walls I need to be. That you may find him, he's a wonder to me. Ever glowing, never changing, that's what he is to me. And if not there, I'm gonna find him on a hilltop, seeking peace and serenity in the wild. When you find him, won't you take me to his side with him? 'Cause right there's where I need to be. And when I find you, oh, won't you make a pact with me? Oh, never will I leave your side. Oh, promise you'll never leave mine. Oh, never leave mine. To need you to stay right here. I need you to stay right here. I need you to stay right here. Tell me why can't you stay? If not there, I'm gonna find him on the hilltop, seeking peace and serenity in the wild. When you find him, won't you take me to his side with him? 'Cause right there's where I need to be. And when I find you, oh, won't you make a pact with me? Oh, never will I leave your side. Oh, promise you'll never leave mine. I'll never leave mine. 'Cause I need you to stay right here. I need you to stay right here. I need you to stay right here. Tell me why can't you stay? I need you to stay. For beg, will you stay right here? I'm begging you to stay right here. Oh, I need you to stay right here. Tell me why can't you stay? won't you stay? I need you to stay.
Thank you very much. Thank you.